You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendell and Carl Dumler, Broncos Country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Get on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
And welcome in, Broncos Country, for another episode of Building the Broncos. I'm your host, Carl Dumler, and joining me from the West Coast, Mr. Nick Kendell. How are you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. Can't complain too much. There's a little bit more smoke blowing into the Seattle area due to the wildfires in California, which is a bummer, but making the best of it, living my best life, working away, and really happy to be here on a Tuesday night to talk some Denver Broncos football with you. I mean, we're kind of like the USPS, rain, sleet, snow, hail, doesn't matter. The Broncos win, loss, tie. We're going to be here and keep talking with you guys about this team. So happy to be here, even though the team itself is off to a less than spectacular start.
That's putting it nicely for sure. I just was actually out in Colorado at the sand dunes and got to go hiking around those. And my wife was all excited because she's like, I get to see all the stars up there. And I said, I don't know with all this smoke whether we'll get to see them or not. But thankfully, we got to see them. It was a very nice night. And it was a good time. But glad to be back. Glad to talk a little bit Bronco football. Maybe talk about a chance for the Broncos having their first win of the season. They are actually favored by 2.5 points, depending on which betting website you look at. So they're favored with their third string quarterback. Who would have thought that?
Let it rip, baby.
That's right. But before we get to all that, I want to let everyone know that tonight's live stream podcast is brought to you by sportsbetting.com. Broncos Country, gambling is now legal in the state of Colorado, and here's what makes sportsbetting.com a no-brainer for all sports fans. Sharp odds and low juice. They have in-house bookmakers. They're not a third-party provider of odds, reduced juice, best prices, hassle-free bonuses. Means that bonus money is yours after you bet it one time. 24/7 live customer support, always a real person in the U.S. Here's the kicker. At sportsbetting.com/milehighhuddle, you can get 100% risk-free week of sports betting up to $500. Not just one bet, but all of your bets. Play for a week, and if your losses exceed your winnings at the end of the week, sportsbetting.com/milehighhuddle will cover 100% of the difference, up to $500 with a one-time rollover. So head on over to sportsbetting at sportsbetting.com/milehighhuddle. That's www.sportsbetting.com/milehighhuddle and capitalize on this risk-free week of sports betting up to $500. And also make sure that you are following us on Twitter. You can find me at Carl Dumler MHH and Nick at Nick Kendell MHH. And you can follow the podcast Twitter account at BTB Football Pod. Subscribe to our show wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a rating. And also don't miss out on all of our great content over at milehighhuddle.com of Sports Illustrated. And know that this podcast is powered by Overtime Media.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Broncos Country, listen up. Coors Seltzer isn't your average seltzer. Rooted in Coors' long history of sustainability, is a brand that was inspired by a generation that wants to do good in the world with a mission to restore America's rivers. Coors Seltzer is launching the world's easiest volunteer program, so whatever you're doing, by simply cracking open a can of Coors Seltzer, you're volunteering. Listen, gang, our waterways are at risk. 80% of America's rivers are drying up. Through a partnership with Change the Course, Coors Seltzer is helping to protect and restore America's rivers. Here's how it works. Each pack of Coors Seltzer restores 500 gallons of fresh water to U.S. rivers and the communities that depend on them. And the results? They'll blow your mind. 1 billion gallons of water restored to 16 river basins across the U.S., and that's just year one. And gang, there are 4 refreshing flavors, 1 cool cause. So enjoy naturally flavored black cherry, mango, lemon lime, and grapefruit. And the specs are in. Coors Seltzer is 4.5% ABV, and it's only 90 calories. And Zach, let me tell you, I've got my eye on that black cherry.
Yeah, it's nothing better, Chad. The weather's turning. It's getting cooler. It's football season. Nothing better than kicking back with a Coors. I like the mango personally, but they're all pretty good. Nothing better, Chad.
Join the world's easiest volunteer program by simply drinking Coors Seltzer. You can become a volunteer and restore America's rivers. You buy Coors Seltzer, you help restore 500 gallons of water into America's rivers. It's that simple. So visit CoorSeltzer.com to find a Coors Seltzer near you. That's CoorSeltzer.com.
For every 12-pack sold through 8/31/2021, Coors will purchase services from Change the Course to restore 500 gallons of fresh river water. Details at CoorsSeltzer.com. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Man, I just got to say, Bwana in here working the stream with the visuals and right on time, man. It's a little bit more art than science sometime, but I see you, Bwana. I see how you're doing out there, so appreciate you. And good to see you, Paul. Good to see you too. Good to see Carl and Nick. At least they aren't on the IR. Only my pride, Paul. But the talk we want to talk to. Actually, first, let's say hello to the chat. I know I said before the podcast, guys, if I'm on my computer, it's going to be picking up on the mic. But there's too many good people to say hello to. We got Toy Mafia coming in with his Goku going on there. Pass me the ball if you want to win. We got Bronco Mania coming in. What's up? We got Dave at work now. I'll hop on later when I get home. Been an ugly year so far, but still riding the Bronco train forever. We got Wolfski coming in here saying Casey looks unbeatable. Could have had Josh Allen. You know what? If and buts were candy and nuts, right? Got Bwana obviously in here. Ooh, Cody, I don't recognize this name. If we lose to the Jets, we've got a problem. Cody, it's a cute dog. There's no problems there with the cute little dog. Kenneth Booker coming in. Kenneth, one of my favorite listeners on the show, always dropping some interesting tidbits here. So we got a good room in here. Strange Clouds coming in here. Zach H, David Bingaman, Ryan Hamilton. Some names that we recognize and some names that I don't recognize. AX Jones, Terry Randall coming in. How you doing? Aaron Lynch. So this is awesome. We got a bunch of people. ZW Designs, bunch of the crew. We got ZW who's rocking the nice shirt too. So man of the hour. It's not me. It's not you, although we are here for an hour, but it is Broncos undrafted free agent quarterback, third string quarterback entering the season, the all-time passing leader from Boise State University, BSU. Yeah, I think I'm correct. They're not University of Boise State. Brett Rypien, a guy who Drew Locke has been very close to. A lot of people really appreciate or speak very highly of Rypien's intelligence, his cerebral nature of the game. But, you know, we got him here. He looked much better than, gosh darn, Driscoll did last week against Tampa Bay. But here we are. Brett Rypien making his NFL debut Thursday night at the New York Jets.
So here's my few things that I'll say about him. You're right. He is well respected in the building. He is well liked by teammates. And you saw that intelligence on the field there this last Sunday. Just the ability. I mean, I don't think I remember hearing Jeff Driscoll talking when he got up to the line of scrimmage at all. And you could tell he was completely oblivious half the time when blitzes were coming at him. And they're blitzing almost every single play there at the end. It's kind of like, this guy doesn't see it. Let's just blitz him.
And it's a double whammy because those blitzes are double effective as, especially up the A gap, but they're double effective as run stoppers as well. So as you were, but it's a double kick to the groin.
Right. But then you see Rypien come in, and very first play, he's going up there. He's calling out who's the Mike linebacker, you know, where are they coming from? How do we need to change up our blocking scheme? And it was kind of a breath of fresh air. It caught me off guard a little bit, honestly, and just reminded me just the intelligence that is needed at the quarterback position to make that work. And it was easy to see his arm is not great. He had that throw clear across the field, and it was only like a 5-yard throw. But to get it to the other sideline, it was kind of like, oh, my gosh, come down. Come on, please come down.
I could hear the Jeopardy theme started up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so you see that there are limitations to what this guy can bring to the offense. But I'd rather have a guy that's intelligent and limited than a guy that has athleticism and has no clue what's going on in the field.
Yeah, no, it definitely has a cerebral side of the game. And with the Broncos type of weapons they currently have, running a West Coast scheme, a lot of yak guys in theory, obviously Jerry Jeudy, KJ Handler, Noah Fant, and getting the ball to a nice picture of the Maroon Bells there, David. And hello from the Bay Area, California. So thanks, David, for coming. And hopefully the wildfires there are kind of dying down. But yeah, no, it's definitely, you make a lot of good points there. There's a reason he went undrafted. I know a fair amount of draft analysts liked him in that cycle. He put up a lot of interesting tape at Boise State, a lot of good plays to a couple wide receivers that I like, John Hightower specifically, going back and watching him. But Rypien, he went undrafted because those tools just aren't there. So we have some people saying he's a Trevor Siemian kind of guy. I think that's true. He actually might have less arm talent than Siemian did. Honestly, when you come down to it, I mean, Siemian could spin the ball, didn't really have ample arm talent by any means, but you could throw the ball around the yard a little bit. I think Rypien, it's an easy comp, but it's the Boise State thing probably. But Kellen Moore, smart guy, is now the offensive coordinator for Dallas. I think that's probably Brett Rypien's future. He's going to be a coach somewhere, but we're going to see him this week. I'm glad he's getting a start. I'm sure the players in the locker room that have been around him for the past year are excited for him to get a chance. But I think that it's going to be, if the Jets crowd the box and say, beat us deep, Brett, it's going to be a long night. But it's probably going to be a long night for both teams. These are two of the more, as they currently stand with the Broncos injuries, these are two of the worst starting lineups in football right now. And Jets are just because they're bad, but the Broncos have an excuse at least.
Right. And Kenneth Booker, he had done a super chat asking about his comment earlier, and I think this is the one he was talking about. He says, at least Rypien can accurately hit Melvin Gordon on those swing passes and Judy on crossing routes. I highly expect you're going to see a lot of those kind of plays in this upcoming game.
Dink and dunk.
Yep.
Dink, dink, and dunk. Yep, that's going to be the whole game.
And you're right. That's exactly – you're right. If you got playmakers, just get it in their hands. Let them go be the playmaker. I think there were times where, especially with Driscoll, he was just waiting for guys to get down the field. Won the bigger play. And yeah, exactly. No feel for the pocket and understanding what's going on. I mean, you'd think after you got hit like 10 times, you'd kind of go, okay, maybe I need to change up what I'm doing. Yeah. But he just got worse. that safety. Oh my gosh. I mean, bad. They actually gave him that half second extra that you really hope for in that moment. The offensive line held up as much as you possibly can when they send more blitzers than blockers. And yet he still just kept holding on to it. He even pulled it down. He was getting ready to throw, pulled it back down. It's just like, dude, you got to know you can't – in that situation, you cannot pull the ball back down. You got to commit to throwing it to one spot.
Yeah. I mean, that's sometimes his issue too, though, because he doesn't see the field that well. Doesn't really have a good processor. And it's the ultimate whammy right now. I think ESPN, maybe it was ESPN stats of win block rate for passing and running. The Broncos were 32nd, which is not good. But part of that is they looked much more competent when Drew Locke was healthy because, hey, you had a quarterback who was getting rid of the ball and had a little bit of athleticism. Driscoll, which turns out to be Irish for deer in the headlights. And then now Rypien, who, I mean, again, smart guy. I'm pulling for him because but by all accounts, everybody really talks highly about his I guess, work ethic and just as a person. But again, just weak arm and not much mobility there. So it's going to have to come down to his intelligence. And he might be able to drive the car, so to speak. I mean, this is a terrible Jets team. If the Broncos get behind, then, goodbye. But I think if he could do enough to not kill the Broncos and just put in it simple, Driscoll killed him. I mean, he really did. So hopefully it'll be better. I mean, they made the change. And that's pretty – again, I'm rambling here now. But I think this is crazy because this is a quick admission by the Broncos saying that we paid Driscoll this money to come in and be this backup quarterback when there were other options out there. He gets one legitimate start and he's out. Like that. I mean, good for them for calling a
spade a spade.
Spade a spade. You have better language than me. But that does surprise me a little bit because you'll see them again. You come out to Elijah Wilkinson, who we'll get to here in a second. But the Broncos just seem to refuse to go out there and make a switch there, even though he's getting killed. Now he's on IR. We'll get to that, guys. It's really interesting to see how quick of a trigger they had to move from Driscoll to Rypien. But I mean, what we saw on Sunday was an assault to the eyes. So I mean, maybe it had to happen.
Was it Mike Kliss said that was the worst Broncos team he's seen in his time of covering the Broncos?
I take a little bit of offense to that because it was bad, but like I'm old enough to remember that game in 2016 where they went to Philadelphia and gave up 50 points and just looked terrible. So they looked bad, but I don't think there was a worse. I don't want to bring this one up, but that Raiders game where they were down like 21-0 in the first like 5 minutes of the game. Yeah. Do you remember that one? Yes.
I think it ended up being 50-10 or something. It was bad. I don't want to talk about that too much. Yeah. But so I've seen a lot worse. I mean, it just in the emotion of the moment, of course, everybody's going to be going crazy. I mean, we saw on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere, fire Fangio, fire the entire system, trade the entire team, all those kind of things. And you just got to have a little bit. That's why usually I stay away from social media for usually a day after a loss, just because I don't want to get caught up in that kind of reaction. Because I have to remember it's a game. And I have to keep that in mind, but it is kind of tough. And it's just hard when we didn't have a whole lot of expectations for this team this year.
Yeah.
The possibility of playoffs, thinking that that's where they could be heading. And just to see so many big names go down, it's almost become the running joke of 2 players go to IR every week. And who is it this week? And it's unfortunately, it's been key players too. So it's frustrating to see.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Winning season returns at MyBookie. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means insane props, epic bonuses, and the craziest cross-sport wagers. At MyBookie, winning season means watching live sports and betting live sports all season long. Rejoice, because the NFL has returned. That means action-packed Sundays and huge cash prizes. Get in on the action, use promo code OVERTIME, and double your first deposit. New players get up to $1,000 in free play, which is designed to add more excitement to the sports you already love and the games that you bet. Bet with the best this NFL season for your chance to win big. Use promo code OVERTIME and double your first deposit. Your winning season begins today only at MyBookie, and here's the best part. Overtime is going all in for our listeners. We're giving away $500 cash to one lucky person who takes advantage of this offer. When you make your deposit, just take a screen grab of your MyBookie account and email it to overtime@advertisecast.com. That's overtime@advertisecast.com. $500 given away at the end of September.
Let's not have the rookies or the guys on the rookie contracts. If we have to make this deal, let it be somebody who's over 30 years old, because if the Broncos lose on Thursday, we might be talking about trading them anyway. So honestly, guys, I'm just joking. No, I'm not cheering for anybody to get hurt. But we need to get to Aaron Lynch's comment here.
Yep.
I think playing Rip is our best option right now. Let's see what he can do in the deep end. Are you talking about throwing it to the deep end or just he's in the deep end? Either way, worth noting. I just can't stand the 9th QB carousel narrative. Locke got hurt. It happens. This is a building year. Yeah, I mean, we said this multiple times in the podcast in the offseason that, this Broncos team, they got a chance to go to the playoffs, like you said. I had them about, I think it was 8.5. I thought they would go over 500, but it did not. Who could have expected this rash of injuries? But we said multiple times that if Locke is hurt for any duration of time, throw those predictions out the window, because behind him, it's absolute nothing. Yeah, that's the PG version of it. Yep. So, I mean, I'm pulling for Rypien, no doubt, and the Broncos. I mean, if there's any game where they have a chance, it's against this trash Jets team where Adam Gase is like just – I mean, he really is a laughingstock at this point. Those memes when he was signing the big old eyeballs and he was on like Adderall or something there. But, crazy. This is a game where he can win, and I don't – guys, we're in this chat. You're in here because you're smart fans. We like to think that we're good people too. We BS a little bit, maybe just me. But I don't want anybody coming here. Let's say the Broncos do win this week. If I see anybody in the chat, not just trolling me, but anybody in the chat saying, wow, this Rypien guy, he threw for 2 touchdowns and 200 yards. Maybe he's the future. Stop it. Stop it.
There are too many limitations. Like there has to be a base level of arm talent to make it in this league. There are guys, I mean, Peyton Manning, there at the end, especially with the Broncos, his intelligence was so far beyond everybody else's, he was able to cover up a lot of arm issues. But that doesn't have
to be the smartest quarterback of all time to cover it up. That's
exactly. And Rypien is not that. I mean, he's smart. Don't get me wrong. I do see him as a possible coach in the future. It would not surprise me one bit. But at the same time, there's still too many limitations. Eric coming in here with slants, shallow crossers, quick ins and outs. I would maybe take off the outs part. Just because you saw the out throw that he had. It took forever. It was a rainbow. You could have punted it to him quicker almost. So those outs, that's that quick interception for a touchdown, pick 6 right there. But then that limits, if you could only throw to the middle of the field, well, then all you have to do is cover the middle of the field and dare him to throw to the sidelines. I mean, it's an easy game plan for our defensive coordinator. That's why I just can't see him be in the future, even if he has a good game. I mean, last year we had a guy that went out and had a statistically a good game against the Browns. But you could tell he got bailed out by a lot of receivers making some big plays that really made his stats look better than he actually played. And
it's also I think it's Andrew Mason who's had this one cover the Broncos for years, but it's that AAA 4A pitcher kind of bounces around and they come up for that first time and nobody really knows what they bring to the table. And it's just that switch, that unknown ability that gives you a little bit of advantage. Honestly, it'd be awesome if the Broncos this year, if they were really trying to win. Nobody's ever done this before because obviously you want the best quarterback to play, but you have 3 quarterbacks now on the rosters. Just don't tell who anybody you're going to play and have a totally different game plan for each one. And then just go out there and go with one, because then the other team they won't know what to do and having to prepare for 3 different guys. So, I mean, really, Brett Rypien, bless his heart, I think he's going to not be a joke this week by any means, because the Jets are a joke in themselves. But I think that we're talking more about, is he going to be playing that next week, week 5, against the Patriots? So that's what he's playing for here. If not, it might be time to row the boat. Might be Bortles time, which, gosh, just somebody's saying they're starting to, if they lose to the Jets, the Broncos are going to be selling paper bags in the merch store. I mean, the jokes just write themselves, guys, with Bortles. So we'll see.
Right. And yeah, it's just the unfortunate situation of this season. Yeah. It's not often that you have this much bad happen all at once. It's
so
Murphy's
quick. So quick.
Murphy's Law of anything that could go wrong will go wrong. That's what's happened this year to the Broncos. I don't think you could have had much more go wrong than what's gone wrong so far. And so it's where we're at, and just means that this is a tight game between 2 bad teams that are fighting for trying not to be the worst team in the NFL. And I think once the Broncos get some players back, which thankfully they are going to get some guys back, they can move back towards a little bit more of the middle of the pack. Drew Locke comes back if he's at full strength. That makes obviously a huge difference. I mean, you saw the difference between week 1 against the Titans and week 2 Steelers with Driscoll in there. Like you said, how many times did he get hit? I think they set a record for a number of times quarterbacks got hit or quarterbacks got sacked. I can't remember which one it is, but the Broncos now own the record just because of a quarterback that doesn't know what he's doing back there.
Yeah. A little bit of Helen Keller syndrome back there in the pocket with Driscoll. But Rypien, I mean, again, he's going to get the ball out. He's going to get it to the playmakers. And it's Broncos, the way they've built this team over the past couple of years, especially this last draft, is you got quick hitters now. Guys who can get separation quickly and then do things after the catch. So that, in theory, they should be able to move the football a little bit. But that's probably the direction that I'd be going this week. And God, there's a point I wanted to make about, also, you're talking about the Broncos being pretty bad with the Jets. To be fair to the Broncos, and again, we're looking at a little bit of, I guess, glass half full, but the Titans 3-0, good team. Granted, now they have everything going on around them, so who the heck knows? But Titans 3-0. The Steelers look like a top 5 team in football. I mean, they're looking pretty darn well. And Tampa Bay they're going to take a little bit of time. Their only loss is at New Orleans week 1, but they're a really good team too. So the people like comparing the Broncos to the 49ers, who have also had a lot of injuries, but the 2 of the 49ers wins are against the Jets and the Giants, I think. So not that comparable, guys. We're talking about teams that are bad. The Broncos are not good with all these injuries, but the Jets and the Giants are heaps of trash. So I think that things will get better here. I don't think the Broncos are going to get the number 1 overall pick. I see people talking about Trevor Lawrence in the comments section. We got a little bit of heat last week for going down that rabbit hole, so I don't want to do that too much. But I think that's probably the way to go. And also, guys, Demar Dotson coming in now. So I know everybody's been clamoring for that. What are your thoughts on that? The Broncos going to Dotson at right tackle. What took him so long? And are you feeling good about it, or kind of conflicted?
I'm not conflicted by it. It's one of those, I don't think he's going to come in and all of a sudden change the entire offense by any means. I mean, last year we got to see a little bit when Juwan James came in for that first half against Texans. The offense was cooking. That is something just that it was great to see. That's what you wanted the offense to be all year. And I don't think that's the kind of change that's happening here. You're going from a really bad right tackle to a probably about the same level of right tackle. I think Dotson has a little bit more intelligence for the position. He's got a little bit more size, and so they have to get a little bit further out wide to get around him. But at the same time, there is a reason that he was available late in the offseason, even though there's a lot of teams that are struggling on the offensive line this year. And I think there is still reason why they weren't willing to go to Dotson, even with Elijah Wilkinson looking like the worst right tackle in football.
Yeah, you might get a little bit of a boost in the pass blocking just because of that. At least that's what I could tell based on his Tampa tape that I watched. But as far as a push in the run game, which the Broncos have really been struggling with, which is something that people have been pooping on the offensive line for years, but they haven't really been that bad of a run blocking unit. This year, all of a sudden, though, man, it's out the window. They're not run blocking well at all. And that's probably where you're going to see the biggest step back moving on from Wilkinson to Dotson, because Dotson does not get much push in the run game. So worth watching, especially with a team that probably to win needs the run game to be effective.
Right. And we do want to give a shout out to Duke real quick. Happy, glad you got a new grandbaby. Congratulations, Mr. Grandpa. Always a great title. Well, I don't want to have that title anytime soon, but but still, congratulations to you and your family. Glad you got yourself a happy, healthy baby there, and spoil them as much as you can. So we had one there. Okay, somebody asked about Bulls. I think Bawana's working behind the scenes there with the comment section, but yeah, here we go. Either you guys know where Bulls ranks among LTs. I think Pro Football Focus has him 5th overall right now. So again, Pro Football Focus grades, take it with tequila level grain of salt. Just salt that whole rim. I would say though,
he's been good, but I'm saying the Pro Football Focus grades themselves.
Right. No, I agree. But at the same time, you can still see this guy is much improved from years past.
Yeah.
He is keeping himself balanced a lot better than I've ever seen him. He's not panicking very often. I think one of his holds was he just the guy fell to the ground. He just kind of fell on top of him and wouldn't let him up.
Yeah.
And that's again, just being smart. He's got to be a little bit smarter on some of that. But beyond that, as a pass blocker, even with the elbow injury, he has really held up. I think I saw one play where they did a still shot, and Garrett Bowles is the only one blocking someone on the offensive line. The other 4 are just staring as their guys are going right by him. And here's Garrett Bowles locked in, perfect. But if the other 4 can't get their job done, it doesn't matter how good Garrett Bowles does. So, I mean, that kind of just keep that in the back of your mind of what are the Broncos going to do with him after the season.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
I mean, guys, this is going to be the real conversation this offseason, and I've already kind of started to set it up on Twitter for my followers out there. But we're going to have a conversation about who's the best tag for the Broncos, Garrett Bowles versus Justin Simmons, because Justin Simmons has been okay so far. He was good in the Pittsburgh game. I think he's really missing Todd Davis out there, Josie Jewell in coverage. Oh my God, barf. And also Chris Harris Jr. Being kind of that leader of the secondary. So Justin Simmons been a little bit down, and Garrett Bowles is playing so well. And then you got the whole thing about Fangio getting the best out of safeties and how many issues the Broncos have had at tackle, and if Garrett Bowles has finally reached it. And then there's the whole issue where, obviously OA maybe looking smart, not giving Justin Simmons a safety resetting deal, but then they didn't give Garrett Bowles a 5th-year option where he would be so much cheaper and you'd have another year of control. So long and short of it, Garrett Bowles has been playing really well. He's been far and away the Broncos' best offensive lineman through 3 games. Those athletic tools and that nastiness that people like to poop on him for are really actually being positives in these games. And he and Fant have probably been the lone true bright spots on this offense for me through 3 games.
Right. Well, we have Dre Roper. Can we talk about Reisner? He is looking like ... looks around my shoulder, a bust.
Carl, I'll leave that for you because you both are products of Manhattan, Kansas, or at least where you are today took a journey through Manhattan, Kansas. So
right.
What's up with Reisner, man? That's probably the most confusing thing for me this offseason.
I really don't know. I don't know if he's trying to do too much or he's trying to make up last year where it was kind of just do your job. This year, expecting him to be a true leader on that offensive line. and he's really struggling to live up to that because, he's got Garrett Bowles on one side. He's got a rookie on the other side. I do think that probably doesn't help the cause, having a rookie at the center position, the guy that's supposed to be the true communicator on that offensive line. And you can tell they don't have great communication right now. And when you don't have great communication, it's going to fall apart.
And Cushenberry is struggling.
He
big
is,
time.
very much so.
Big time.
So I think that plays a little bit, but there's been times where it's just Reisner one-on-one, and he is just getting blown away. So I'm not sure what all's going on. Hopefully he can get some of that cleaned up as the season goes on. But, we're seeing it across the league. Offensive linemen are struggling bad. The lack – the fact that they cut down training camp and offseason before and offensive linemen were already struggling, and then you cut it down to even shorter and then no preseason. Yeah, these guys are going to struggle a lot. But at the same time, he's supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be – he was voted captain in that first game. And then he goes out and does that. You can't have that from the guy that's supposed to be the leader that everybody looks up to. And so he's just got to get his act together. I'm not too worried. I'm not going to call him a bust yet. I think he'll get himself together as the season progresses and they can get more work. He's got a great coach, obviously, working with them. They'll get it figured out.
Yeah, and I think, again, Vita Vea is playing incredible football right now. He was a first-round pick as a nose tackle, and he's got tremendous power, and his hump move is about as good as any in the game. And he gave it to Cushenberry and Reisner and Glasgow a bit last week. And then this week, he had not a bad season, kind of an up-and-down season last year, but Quinnen Williams looks real. I don't know if you caught much Jets game yet, but he looks like the number 3 overall pick. So I'm nervous. I'll just put it that way. I'm nervous about the interior offensive line. And that's such a bummer because I had big expectations for not being the best guard duo in football, but like Reisner and Glasgow should be better than they've been. And they just have not been.
It should be at least top 5.
I would take top 10, but both of them have been, I'd say Glasgow's been average. Reisner's been below average.
Yep.
And then Cushenberry has been not good, worse than both of them. And then Wilkinson, maybe the worst right tackle in football so far. But, here we are. That's 2020, man. Gift that keeps on giving.
Yep, exactly. All right, Cody Potter coming in. An 0-3 Broncos team needs Lindsey on the field just to deliver that spark the team needs desperately. Denver feels deflated since week 1. # spark plug needed.
It'd be hard not to feel deflated when you see all these guys going down and you had expectations this season. And I don't have issues with Vic Fangio, but he's not known as a player's coach. I don't think they are really loving his time, or so, especially when you're losing. So I think that is a concern. So we'll see what happens. I definitely think a spark plug needed, but also not only Lindsey, but Locke brings a lot of energy. Vaughn brings a lot of energy. So we're going to see how it is, but it's going to be, could be easy. And I see Jody coming in here. Okay, Carl, let's pivot here for a second. I want to hear your take on this because I think this is not true. Jody always coming in, bringing me down, giving me a hard time. Jody Moncrief, Nick, your Hawkeyes CB has been bad. I take contention with that. I think Ojemudia, that Pittsburgh game, that big touchdown was not great. But considering he's right now the Broncos' number 1 boundary corner, they're playing Callahan too. But right now, I'd say it's their number 1 boundary corner. He had a good game last week, and he looks like he belongs. Is he going to be a number 1 cornerback in the league? I don't think so, but he looks like he belongs. And for a 3rd-round rookie, if you compare him to, let's say, McTelvin Agim so far, who's not playing, or Lloyd Cushenberry, who's, again, struggling, Ojemudia is doing really well out of the gate, like much better than I had any expectations for.
Yeah, of all the rookies so far, I don't think it would be hard to argue that he's probably been the best of them. Jerry Jeudy has had his drops. KJ Hamler's been injured and limited. Agim really hasn't gotten to play a whole lot. Cushenberry has been terrible.
And I don't think we're not putting the nail in the coffin on any of these guys. Just want to throw that out there. It takes time.
It is, and it's rookies on a really bad offseason. The worst offseason for a rookie just happened. And so, to me, Ojemudia he's been up and down. What you expect from a 3rd-round rookie that's been thrown into a position that he was not supposed to be thrown into, that came into the league pretty raw, needing some time to develop, and he's not gotten that opportunity because they've had to force him into the lineup. So yes, he has had his opportunities that he's gotten burned, but at the same time, he had the one interception that he dropped, and then the other interception that should have been an interception that got taken away because of a stupid penalty. And he's been in position to make plays. That's what you ask of a rookie cornerback. Be in position to make plays. He's been solid as a tackler. He's been willing to come down, make the hard hits that you saw there at Iowa that they require out of their cornerbacks. And that's exactly what Fangio requires too. So really, I have no problem with what he has put out there on tape. Yes, that long touchdown. That's what everybody's going to remember right now.
And the drop pick.
Right, and the drop pick. Those two things, yes, they cost the team. But at the same time, again, he was in that position to make that interception. He was in great coverage at that point. And that's all you can ask of him at this time. So right now, when Booyah comes back, that's going to be actually a decent trio of cornerbacks. I would take that group right now.
Yeah, much better than I thought. That's because I did not have expectations for Ojemudia like this out of the gate. So we got Kyle Smith coming in, congratulating Duke as well. And also Kyle saying his daughter was born last week. So congratulations all around. And congrats on, congrats on 9 months ago for as well. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I think Ojemudia has done about as better than I had expectations for. So you know what, for my Hawkeye cornerback, I'll take that. And is Boye on track to return week 5? Right now, that is the case. How limited is he going to be? We will see. Those shoulder injuries it comes down to pain tolerance for a lot of those guys. But he should be back, and that should be a big boost for this team because they're really missing him. And it's an issue on this whole team, but the Broncos safeties, Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons, good safety duo, no doubt. But that second level of the defense, it's really not good, guys. I mean, especially with Boye out, but like Callahan, Oj, and gosh, who's the third cornerback right now? Saying Bassie?
Yep.
Struggling out there. Yeah. Not looking like the next coming of Chris Harris Jr. Maybe he will be, but not looking like that right now. And then you have the linebackers, which, gosh, Josie Jewell might be one of the worst coverage linebackers in football. And Alexander Johnson's not really a covered guy as well. So you put all that together, and you're going to have some issues with any of those pieces. And it's just all the synergy of football. I remember the game this weekend. People on Twitter were going nuts like, well, they see Tampa Bay blitzing like crazy. Well, why aren't the Broncos doing that? At some point, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And the X's and O's, if you're sending 5-6 guys, you don't have the horses in the back to stick on man coverage that long or one-on-one or cover the space even. So you have a choice of either not getting home and keeping guys back there and keeping stuff in front of you, or sending guys and at risk, maybe getting a big play, but also really increasing your risk of giving up a big play. So it's it's a cliche saying, but I think for a reason. Sometimes it's not about the X's and O's, but the Jimmies and Joes. And I think for this team right now, with how dinged up they are, and they already issues at linebacker and cornerback in terms of coverage, that's what it was going to be this season.
Right. And I think that's something important to keep in mind is, like you said, there are times that players make plays.
Yeah. And
there's been plays to be had that the players just haven't been able to take advantage of. There's plays that I've seen wide receivers running wide open and the quarterback just doesn't hit them. I mean, Drew Locke missed a few of them deep in the first week, made a couple of times where he took the harder throw instead of the easier throw. And then, of course, Driscoll's just been all over the board, where every once in a while he makes like this great throw and you're like, oh, wow, there we go. Okay, let's go. And then his next three are going, oh, my gosh, what in the world was he doing? It's kind of all over the board. When you got guys like what happened to Wilkinson, well, he's a guy that's playing out of position. He doesn't have the foot speed to win to the edge. And a lot of these guys, the problem is that they're told don't get beat to the inside because that's the quickest path to the quarterback, obviously. And so make them have to try to run the arch as much as he possibly can. So work inside out. Well, when he doesn't have the foot speed to get to the out and he's trying to keep him from getting to the inside, well, he's just easily giving up that edge and giving him a quick edge to get to Drew Locke, Driscoll, whoever is playing quarterback for the Broncos. And so it is that's part of the thing is just Wilkinson just is not built for that position. And as much as he can work on technique, as much as he can work with Munchak on what he's supposed to be watching for, there's still a point where you need a player there. And you always talk about it being like dancing bears on the outside. And he's not a dancing bear at all.
Yeah, nope. He's more of that WWE type. So honestly, this may be a little bit wild, but with how they're struggling, I think Risner is really struggling with power. I'm curious what it would look like if they flipped them. If you put Risner or Wilkinson to left guard and Risner to right tackle. So, I mean, I thought Risner would be better than this at guard because he was last year until he had his ankle injury. But out of the gate so far, he's really struggling with power this season. So, I don't know. We will see. We had a super chat coming in here. If I can get to it, here we go. WE Locke is officially on notice. He's playing for his job. If he doesn't come back and look like a keeper, let's target Lawrence or Fields. I don't want to go down this wormhole too much because we might have an entire offseason of this kind of conversation. But the best thing I can say, and it should put everybody at ease, maybe not, but it should, this situation is going to play itself out. If the Locke is going to come back, and even if this team around him isn't good, the Broncos have winnable games on their schedule and a tough schedule, so they're not going to win the tiebreakers in the draft. The team with the worst strength of schedule that has the same record picks higher. So the Broncos are going to have a hard strength of schedule, just how the schedule is this year. Unfortunate. But if Locke comes back and plays well, guess what? Broncos aren't going to be in range for one of those top quarterbacks. If Locke comes back and he struggles, guess what? Broncos are going to have a chance to go after one of these quarterbacks. So really, I mean, I know that a lot of people get upset about it. How could you give up on Drew Locke, or how could you not want Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, blah, blah, blah. It's going to play itself out. We're going to know more over time. Locke's going to get a chance. And you're right. He is on notice because this is 2 injuries back-to-back seasons on a team that's struggling right now. And if he struggles so much when coming back and the Broncos have a chance to get one of these quarterbacks, then not only talking about potentially upgrading the quarterback position, but you're going from 2 years of control to 5. Which is, huge, especially for a team that's in financial dire straits like the Broncos are. So, right. It's all the stuff we're going to get to talk about, but it's on Locke. If he plays well, guess what? Broncos aren't going quarterback. That's just, it's that simple.
Right. And yeah, if he doesn't, then they're right there in that position to take one. It's that, yeah, really it is simple. All right. John is letting us know that we are going to randomly be giving away some merch to a super chat tonight. And we will announce it before we leave on the show. So you got about 22 minutes here, or 21 minutes before we get out of here. And so don't miss out on that opportunity. So get your super chats in if you want to talk here. But and good to see Pobby is in here. Thank you, Pobby, very much. We really appreciate it. Good to see you as usual. And she, of course, has Go Broncos with some hearts. And that's just the thing is, this is what I love about these kind of chats is even when the team is terrible, just to see that there are those who are sticking with the team, knowing there's going to be ups and downs. Every franchise is going to go through ups and downs. The Patriots were not always this good. They did not always win a bunch of Super Bowls. It wasn't until Tom Brady stepped foot on that team and Bill Belichick kind of took over that all of a sudden things started working out. There's teams that were great. The 49ers, do you remember how bad they were there in the early 2010s, I guess, or late 2000s, right?
It was the pre and post Harbaugh era where they were pretty bad.
Yes. So they've had their ups and downs. Atlanta's been all over the board. And man, I feel bad for Falcons fans.
Yeah.
To see their team blow so many big leads. Oh, that would be heartbreaking. But so good to see you, Pobby, and glad you're feeling better again.
Hope your dad's doing better too.
Do what?
Hope her family member's doing better as well.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, again, thanks everyone for joining us here today. I know it's tough sometimes to talk after seeing a really bad loss, but we're here through the thick and thin.
Especially some people, especially those like instant reaction ones, you're looking to be emotional rather than that cathartic, everything sucks, I'm angry at everybody kind of thing, where I don't really feel like that's our vibe. Sometimes I get mad, especially during game day on Twitter. I'll go a little bit all caps in me sometimes. But in here, that's kind of not our style. We're not, you can go to some other fan oriented places that can be provided those hot takes if you're looking for them. But we got Cody Potter coming in now. Do you think Den turns to more of a run first team with all the injuries and keep the defense off the field as long as possible? I think that they would, But the issue is, especially with Driscoll, we kind of talked about at the start of the podcast, those blitzes, which are gap fillers, are essentially a twofer, because not only are you messing with Driscoll's head and what he's seen and how he's feeling in the pocket, but you're also clogging lanes and hurting the run game. So they're sending more guys than they can block. So that's really hurting the run blocking of the Broncos. Also, the interior offensive line is just not moving guys at the point of attack, which is not great. So that's a concern as well. So I think they would like to be a run first team, especially with Rypien, and maybe they will with Rypien. But that's the offensive line has to block to do that. And everybody likes to talk running backs in here, and I'll say it 100 times though, but a running game is only as good as the blocks in front of it. So I mean, you could have. I mean, classic example is Joe Mixon, super talented. That Cincinnati offensive line, terrible. So not doing anything.
And I will say the Broncos played 3 very good front sevens.
Yes.
There for those first 3 games. The Jets are nowhere near. They do have Quinton Williams.
And Franklin. There's a guy that they have that was either undrafted or a late pick. There's an edge rusher of theirs named Franklin Myers, I believe. Who I believe Brandon Thorne, who covers NFL, especially trench play. Go check him out on Twitter. He's a good follow. Been following this guy with very heavy hands. So got to watch out for him as well, especially with Dotson over there. We're going to see how that is. If everybody wanted Wilkinson benched or gone, well, we're going to see what we have now, I guess. We're down to the third right tackle. That's especially Quinton Williams. He's the one that scares me.
I did want to get to this. Charlie Beagle saying, so if we blitz, it's stupid, but if they blitz, genius. Well, it's genius in the fact that for the Broncos, I mean, having Driscoll, a guy that has no awareness of pressure around him and understanding of where blitzes are coming from, you blitz the heck out of that guy. Tom Brady.
Especially it's A-gap blitzes. Cushenberry's getting his ass handed to him right now. So it's the A-gap. It's just killing him.
Tom Brady, he has seen everything. He is one of the top 5 smartest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Blitzes don't really bother him a whole lot. The teams that do well against guys like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, those kind of things, they can get to the quarterback with 4 guys and drop back in coverage, making them have to hold on to that ball just an extra half second. Those are the teams that can beat them. Think about the Broncos in 2015. They didn't have to blitz Tom Brady a whole lot to win that game because, of course, DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller, Malik Jackson, Derek Wolfe, you could get home with those 4 guys on a regular basis, and it just made life easier for the secondary. Broncos don't have that right now, especially now Jarrell Casey's gone. Chubb is still coming back from injury. You can tell it's still not 100% out there.
And I do like Alexander Johnson when they use him in the blitz package because he is good at that. But that means that you have Josie Jewell covering more space. And guys, I'm a Hawkeye homer. Like, I try not to be a homer for anything else, but I'm a Hawkeye homer. But Josie Jewell covering space is a recipe for disaster. So I don't know. Again, it depends on the situation. And obviously Todd Bowles with the Buccaneers, he's known as one of the heaviest blitzing guys in football. But you have, again, I just don't know the Broncos got the guys to do that so much. And they also don't have the guys up front. So it's really, the injuries have sucked. And that's just, it is what it is.
Yep.
We got
I like
Brian.
This comment from Brian. Yeah. Brett Rypien is the type of quarterback who walks into Baskin-Robbins 31 flavors and orders vanilla. I do expect it's going to be a pretty vanilla game plan this week for a few reasons. I mean, it's a short week, so you don't have a whole lot of time of preparation, especially get a new quarterback ready that hasn't gotten a whole lot of reps. I mean, this guy, even at training camp, usually what kind of happens, just to kind of give you an idea, is it's like 60% of snaps go to the starter, then about 35% go to the backup, and then about 5% go to the third string guy. Most of the third string reps, they're just real quick at the end of a drill. Okay, let's just get these guys in here real quick just in case they ever have to play, and let's just see what they bring to the table a little bit. It's not much. So this guy has not gotten a whole lot of reps. He's not had much time to work with some of these wide receivers or Noah Fant. I mean, I don't think he's probably been with the first string offense at all this entire year. So, yes, it will be pretty vanilla. Plus, just his game sets up to be very vanilla.
Yeah, it's going to be – the Jets are a worse team, but they have the substantially better quarterback. And also it's Adam Gase's Super Bowl. So who knows there? And also I see some people using foul language in the chat. How dare you? First off, this is a humble and nice, caring environment, and we don't appreciate that. But anyway, Carl, we got about 10, 15 minutes left. Stock up and stock down. I think we should just roll through it really quick, come out of this game and then turn to the Jets game really quick, get some predictions out there. My stock up coming out of this game, we're going to have 3 stock up and 2 stock down, just to be a little bit more positive. Again, Garrett Bowles, another good game, playing like one of the better tackles in football. And if there's any sort of light at the end of the tunnel or any positive we can take, that's one that we can look at. I thought Ojemudia, good bounce back game against the Steelers. He looks like he belongs. I love his physicality. He's showing more and more in terms of coverage nuance. They're using different types. Iowa played just such a simple scheme that there were some questions about his ability to translate on that mental side, but he's a smart guy. I think his father is a PhD civil engineer even. So anyway, another positive also, I think Freeman has looked pretty well, much better than he has, honestly, as good as he's had since he got injured in that game 2 years ago against the Cardinals. So hats off to Royce Freeman. I think he's doing well in his opportunity. Not a starter, but again, a guy who's doing a little bit of something out there. Stock down, yeah. I think I've already hammered on them enough in this game, but Lloyd Cushenberry, he's going to take his lumps this year. It just is what it is. I think you probably just have to roll with him, but it's been not good. And then Josie Jewell, I still don't understand the Todd Davis move. I guess in the end, it probably doesn't really matter because how many wins are going to be different if you had Todd Davis instead of Josie Jewell. Who knows? But it's a big difference on the field, and I'm not impressed. Not impressed. And I love the Outlaw, man, but
who was your first stock up again?
Bowles, Ojemudia, Freeman for stock up, stock down, Cushenberry, and Jewell.
Okay. Well, I'll talk Shelby Harris.
Yeah.
I thought that was maybe one of his best games of his career at actually getting into the backfield, getting pressure. He's usually more of a guy that kind of watches the quarterback's eyes, is able to beat down the football. I mean, that's his game. That's what he's known for. Where this is one of those where he actually really was getting in the backfield, making some nice things happen. I haven't seen that from him as much as I would like. And so good to see him really kind of explode on the scene, making some plays. Very, very impressed by him. I'm trying to think of other ones that really stood out to me. That's kind of hard to find 6 guys that had good games, I would say. But I thought Melvin Gordon, for how bad the situation was, he was breaking some tackles to get some yards after contact.
Yeah.
You talked about Freeman. I thought Melvin Gordon, considering the whole situation where they were just pretty much beat us any other way.
Yeah.
He still
how about Rypien?
Decent.
A little stock up on Rypien.
Yeah. I he was going to be my next one a little bit here. I mean, I threw the interception, but they're down bad. He just was trying to fit one into a window he couldn't fit it into. But the offense looked 10 times better than it did in the entire rest of the game. All of a sudden got into a rhythm. Like I said, the guy talking at the line of scrimmage, getting guys in position, looking like he was the leader out there. Driscoll just looked like the whole deer in the headlights. Oh my gosh, I know I'm going to get hit because I don't know what's going on out here. Rypien, it was the complete opposite. So I am kind of excited to see him on Thursday. Again, I never expect that he's going to be a long-term solution by any means, but he's at least a nice option for this kind of game.
That's a good question. I think that those go hand in hand. It's kind of like pass rush and coverage. One can't really be good without the other one succeeding. The offensive line is struggling, especially at right tackle and center. And they did not look this horrible when Locke was in there. But once you went to Driscoll, it got ugly quickly. So it sucks. It just got off the rails.
Right. And if you can solve the quarterback problem, you solve it. I don't care how good or bad your offensive line is. Yeah. The Browns tried to do that where they tried to build their offensive line, then get the quarterback. How's that worked out for them? Not great. They had Joe Thomas, and for a while they had the best left tackle and right tackle in football for a while.
And center.
Yes. All at the same time.
Yeah.
And they couldn't win games. And so while offensive line is important, there is a limit to how much they can raise up a team. Think about all those Cowboys teams as well with Tony Romo, where he went down with injury. They couldn't go win games. So if you don't have the quarterback, you're still kind of in a bad position. Quarterbacks can help cover up a lot of things. Peyton Manning covered up a lot of bad offensive lines. Tom Brady's covered up some bad offensive lines at times.
Russell Wilson, another one, covering up bad offensive lines year after year.
Exactly. And so Patrick Mahomes, even right now, that Chiefs offensive line is not looking great. But
they were bad last year too, but outside of Schwartz and Fisher being average, but like they were injured as heck last year. And when you have a quarterback that can do things, guess what happens? And I know another one, Kyler Murray with the Cardinals. That Cardinals offensive line, looking at the names, although they do have my center prospect from a few years ago, Gayard, the guy that Eric and I kind of fought on that draft podcast, who's doing really well. So Eric, if you're listening, but we just Eric and I are brothers. We just kind of have that relationship. But yeah, there's a conversation to be had there about the offensive line and quarterback. But I think if you have a chance at Trevor Lawrence and maybe Justin Fields, I'm not ready to say Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields, honestly, because I want to see them play this year. But if you have a chance at one of those guys, it's more of an opportunity thing than anything. Drew Locke fell to the second round for a reason. He still could be a good quarterback. I think he's got a Matt Stafford ceiling, but odds are I'm just throwing it out there. I think odds are he's more likely an Andy Dalton, Derek Carr level of quarterback. Which isn't bad. You could win with those guys. You can go to the playoffs with those guys, but you'd rather have a Matt Stafford. And I know that not everyone loves Matt Stafford even, but that's probably where it's going.
And I would say, like, I've watched Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence quite a bit just because they're fun to watch, no matter if your team needs a quarterback or not. But both of them, because of their legs, make a team have to rush you differently.
Yeah. So the same with Locke, though. Locke's an okay athlete.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. And that's why he's been able to avoid a lot of pressure and keep his sack numbers down is because of that ability. But like watching Justin Fields, teams have to be disciplined in their rush lanes because if you get too far up the field, boom, he's gone for a 20-yard run. He is an athletic freak. And Kyler Murray, it's the same way.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, all those guys, you have to be very disciplined in how you blitz them. So it makes life a little bit easier on the offensive line in the sense that they can't just go full out. At the same time, though, then because they're dancing back there, then you got to be worried about where they're going, how they're going to do it. So there's good and bad to that, I guess I should say.
And there's an off-season conversation to be had here about the evolution of the game and how the quarterback position needs to change in evaluation. Because like a few years ago, we had Matt Ryan MVP. And I think that style of quarterback where he's just so completely pocket dependent, you have to have the right offensive line that season. Otherwise, the offense is neutered, right? Like you can't, if the offensive line has a sieve at one side, you're done because you just can't do the ad lib kind of stuff. So that's honestly becoming a must have in today's league because it's just too impossible to get an offensive line of that quality. So guys, we're running out of time here. We got to get to prank films here real quick. Who's the worst backup and best backup ever on the Broncos and why? Are you talking for any position or whatever? Obviously, good backup. Quarterback. Kubiak, just because the ramifications long term.
Yeah. I'd say worst. Paxton Lynch wasn't even backup quality. I guess where you have expectations and what he brought even as a backup. Because I remember when Simeon got hurt, they had to change their entire offense and pretty much run like 8 plays because he was just so bad and so struggling with the playbook. They just pretty much said, okay, well, this is what we got. It was bad. And you don't want that from your backup. You want a guy that can come in that can still at least know the playbook. Maybe not be the greatest athlete, maybe struggle to know exactly what they're supposed to do with the football every time, but at least know the play. He didn't even know the play.
Yeah. There's something to be said about the intelligence level. Quarterback's so complicated. We could go on. We don't have time to get into all the idiosyncrasies for a quarterback from the tools to the intelligence and why you kind of need a little more than a little bit of both. But some guys don't have it in one area and they do in another. And so we'll see it this week, I guess, with Brett Rypien. But guys, that's probably going to do it for today. I know that probably Buwana wants us to talk about the giveaway again. He already did it. So he's gonna reach out to WE here. Tell WE reach out to milehighhuddle@gmail.com. Buwana, if you want to throw up a thing there, I can put it up. Or you could probably do it yourself also. But guys, we got to get out of here. We appreciate it. Thursday Night Football coming around the clock here. Okay, Carl, what's your prediction?
So I do actually have the Broncos winning this one, 20-17. I think Rypien can do enough on the offense. And I think just watching Sam Darnold, it is so easy to see that guy's rattled. And I mean, why not? That offensive line's terrible. He has no playmakers really on that offense. And one of the worst coaches, if not the worst coach in football. And I mean, he's flat out said he's starting to see ghosts. He's starting to just struggle with his game right now. I think he's going to throw up one bad interception that gets returned for a touchdown that really helps ignite at least enough for the Broncos to come out with victory. What about you?
I have the Broncos losing a close one, 17-16. So unfortunate, but that's life. And Charlie Beagle coming in asking if it's if the giveaway is a Wilkinson jersey. Charlie, you're in a.
I don't think we can pay you enough to take it right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, we got to get out of here. We love y'all, but time has come to log on off. Thank you for joining us today, the Building the Broncos podcast. I'm Nick Kendell, along with Carl Dumler. You can find us on Twitter at Carl Dumler MHH and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also going over to milehighhuddle.com, which is an affiliate of Sports Illustrated. I'm going to have an article. I'm going to work on one tomorrow on Garrett Bowles, one of the few positives so far this season. We might as well hammer on it. Head on over to iTunes also, guys. Leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and share. If you're on Facebook, as we like to say, click those little thumbs up. So we appreciate that a lot. And doing this can really help us continue to bring you these Denver Bronco deep dives, whether it be the Huddle Up podcast with Chad and Zach, Mile High Insiders with myself and Luke, or the Dove Valley Deep Divers, of course, with Eric and Lance. So we really do appreciate that. Also, guys, you can follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at BTB Football Pod. Carl, any other plans the rest of the night? Are you going to go get political and watch what should be fireworks, the debate? I know we're not supposed to talk politics in here, but I mean, this is must-watch television, right? It's 2020 is wild. I'm expecting
it kind of is.
Trump's going to come out in a grill and Biden's going to come out in a pimp coat. Or who the hell knows? Like, what the hell's going on?
So I'm probably going to go work out at the gym and watch the debate at the same time. I figure both will get my heart racing. So, congratulations to WE on winning a shirt today. It is not my Paxton Lynch jersey. I got saved. I don't think I've said this before. I remember that company that was doing the jersey rental thing.
Yes.
So I told them that I wanted to rent a Paxton Lynch jersey. And they said, hey, we don't have it, but I'll get you one in. And then they quit as a business. And so then they were selling all their jerseys. And I was like, maybe a Paxton. No, I can't do that. So I almost bought it, but kind of saved myself on that whole situation.
I feel guilty about having a Cutler jersey. I can't even imagine owning a Paxton Lynch jersey.
I know that. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that I got saved on that I didn't end up buying it. So no, it's not a giveaway of my Lynch jersey. And my hat, I'm sorry, I came straight from band practice. Forgot to grab my hat. That's why my hair is kind of all over the place here today. So I'll try to make sure I have my hat for next week.
That sounds good. But guys, we got to get on out of here. We love y'all. We'll see you next week. I will see you Saturday with Luke. And hopefully we'll be celebrating a Broncos win. But if not, either way, we're going to be here. So go Broncos, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Building the Broncos. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.